in the days of the kings, let me find my spot, I lost mine up here. In the days of the kings of Israel, there's a prophet named Elijah, and they called on him to say, what was going to happen as they're going to war. And Elijah had a servant who was with him, and they are about to be at war with the king of Syria. And the servant of the man of God, the servant of Elijah, it says in 2 Kings 6, verse 15, he rose early in the morning and went out. And behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, Alas, my master, what shall we do? And Elijah, he said, Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Now, in the natural, that was not true. There were not more people in the Israelite army than there were in the Syrian army. And then Elijah prayed. And this, I just want this to be my prayer, and I want this to be our prayer for the house here in New Beginnings. He said, Oh Lord, please open his eyes that he may see. So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountains full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Elijah, it's Elisha. And when the Syrians came down all around Elisha, and when the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed to the Lord and said, Please strike this people with blindness. So he struck them with blindness in accordance with the prayer of Elisha. And Elisha said to them, This is not the way, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. And he led them to Samaria. He ends up leading them off, okay? But I'm going to stop there. The point is, we have a powerful, powerful, powerful God. And he is doing a work in the unseen that we cannot see. And sometimes, we wish that we could see all that he was doing, all that he is doing. But I just pray that prayer, Lord God, open our eyes, that we do back of the room, if you brought your check or cash or whatever for offering unto the Lord. And as we do that, I just want to encourage you guys, just do it with a joyful heart. This is not obligation. This is not anything to say you have to do this, but we give to the Lord in the joy of our hearts. Amen. And out of the joy of your heart, hug your neighbor. Also, let me remind you that there are still some people in Haiti, so be praying for them. There are people who are there. Well, obviously there are people in Haiti all the time. But yeah. So we have some of our people in Haiti. We always have our Pastor Fiddler, who is there most of the time, and then the rest of the team from New Beginnings who are still there. And we have some who are back. Thank you guys for serving and making this awesome. And we're going to hear from them next week during Mission Sunday, so praise God for that. All right, turn to your neighbor, give them a hug and kiss, brothers, sisters, give them a hug and kiss.
anyway, they just got back from Haiti, and the thing I wanted to cover most is I want you to tell us about your dad's ordination, and then but before that, I want you to tell us about what your perspective is of the trip, and how did you enjoy your 5-hour trip across long enough? 7 hours. Was it real wet?
No, the car, like every car stopped at least. Every car stopped at least once or twice. And one, like 2 cars overheated, one, it was 7 hours.
7 hours
7
to
long
get there, or 7 hours
hours
to get
to
back?
get there.
How many hours to get back?
It was about 5. Yeah.
Oh, downhill 5.
Yeah.
Downhill 5.
Downhill was better.
Downhill was better.
I
Yeah.
think both travel days, like getting there and getting back was about 26 hours.
So to go 25 miles, 7 hours. 25 miles goes 7 hours, and then 5 hours back. Okay, so you can walk 5 miles an hour, and that's what it took to get back. So, what did you think about this island? Once you got away from the port city, what did you discover? Yeah, what did you discover? What did you see on that island? Did you see McDonald's or?
Okay, I'll just talk about it as soon as we got off the boat. So as soon as you get off the boat, there's a bunch of people trying to help you with your luggage. So you get off, and then once you start driving, just the higher you go up the mountain, there's just less of everything. But there's really hardly anything when you get on the island. Like, to be honest, I think near Pastor Nicholas' house is like some shops. You know, it's a bit more civilized, I guess.
Right.
Once you start getting up the mountain, though, it's just immediately such a drastic change in living and lifestyle. There's just a lot of kids running around with no clothes on. There aren't any McDonald's, Pastor. I'm sorry. There's 0 McDonald's. It's just different. Like you start seeing houses that look like what here would be like a kid's play fort or something. Like you got some like little aluminum roofing and just like some random branches and stumps, and that's their house. And then you see maybe like a big metal pot outside, and that's where they cook their meals and stuff. And pretty much once you're making the trip up to Bethesda, that's all you're gonna see.
What did you think about the poverty?
Yeah, that's incredible. I just kept asking myself how, you go from America your whole life to that, and you just have all these questions like, how does this even work? How do they even live? Like, how do they even survive? How do they keep clean at all? How do they have fun? Like, I'm just gonna be totally transparent. How do they enjoy their lives? Like, there's just so much that's been going through my head, even now. Coming back is weird.
Did you see a lot of toys and stuff for the children?
Oh no. I saw rocks.
So in your quest to find fun over there, there just wasn't, from our view,
Right, from our view.
there just wasn't any way to have any fun, was there?
But what's amazing is that God gives us an imagination. And I think something that's been happening, especially here in the States, in these places that are just, we have too much, is that imagination is decreasing. Because we have all these screens that distract us. We can watch movies, we can play games, we can be on the tablets just looking up whatever we want to look up. And these kids, like, you see them and they're like making these games where they're playing with rocks. And I don't even know the rules, but you can tell they're excited about it. And they're like, oh, you lost. They're doing all this stuff. So God gave us everything we needed with everything He created, and everything we have is just extra.
Over there, I hear stories, or remember stories from my father's childhood. And down there in Tennessee, he said they would take a bicycle rim that had no spokes in it, and they would take a stick, and the bicycle rim had no tire, of course, it's just a steel rim. And they would take that stick and get that rim rolling, and they can control the movement of that rim with that stick. that bicycle rim all around, and that was entertainment. That was fun for them. And I saw that in Haiti. The other thing I saw one time on the mainland was children playing marbles. Us older ones, we played marbles when we were kids. These kids are expert shots with those marbles, flicking them off their thumb like that. It was amazing how accurate they are with those marbles, and just incredible. Yeah. And so back to the very basics. But you're saying back to the very basics, God puts a design in us to figure out a way to have some fun. And to enjoy life. They don't know that what we think is enjoyment, right? And the other day, by the way, Zoe and Gracie got in spat, and so Nana, she canceled all tablets, all television for like 24 hours or something like that. I don't know. And it was really enjoyable to watch those girls come out of this fun life that we have created for children today back to some basics. Figuring out how to play with themselves and how to entertain themselves with their imaginations. And I found them coming in my office with a blanket over their head, wanting me to figure out who it is, and things like that. But that is great. How was your dad's meeting and yes, his ordination?
So that Sunday was a very long day. We woke up, first you wake up with the roosters. The roosters start crowing about 5, 6 o'clock, and then it's like there's no point in trying to sleep anymore. So then we made breakfast, and then about 2 o'clock, the anniversary service started. So from 2 to 4 was the anniversary service, and then from 4 to 6 was the ordination. So it was a 4-hour service, and I was like, but after you got past that anniversary service and the ordination started, it was actually pretty neat because
Did you have a morning service before that?
no, it was just the 4-hour, consecutive service. And then the pastor who was doing the ordination, he started, and he sung a couple of songs, and then my aunt did a biography of my dad, which was really neat as well. And when the ordination started, they kind of had all of the church members come forward, and they kind of did like vows, like saying, you promise to protect your pastor, you promise to do this, you promise to do that. And then after that, they went to my mom and my dad, and they kind of had them do vows between their new roles and God. So it's like, I promise to lead the church, I promise to, provide counseling for families and marriage, marriage counseling, and they promised to, forsake all else. Like, it was like, we were like marriage vows, but for ordinations. And then he got the anointing oil, and they started singing this song. I don't remember the song, it's a French song, but once they started singing the song, my dad lost it. Like, he started crying so bad. And that's like the 3rd time I've ever seen my dad cry. So of course, if I see him cry, my mom starts crying, then I start crying. I'm like, no. It was pretty intense. And then they buckled under the, I'm gonna assume it was the spirit, but then also there was other things going through my mind, because I think that's a lot of times we forget what my dad has left to undertake this entire project. And there was the forever separation from his family now, because this is something, it's no longer just I'm doing this because God has called me to do this for now. It's become a lifelong commitment. And so being separated from his family, even leaving the law and order of America to go live in Haiti, where there isn't much law and order, and having to deal with people who can sometimes seem ungrateful. There's just a lot of things that I think he's thinking about during that, he was thinking about during that moment. But I also do think it was the Holy Spirit as well, just showing him I've sealed you for this day. This is the day for which you were born. And so it was very, I had so many mixed emotions. I was happy, I was sad, I was like, no, and I was like, yes. It was pretty intense though, but it was really awesome. And then after that, we fed everybody. It was like 300 people out there. We fed all of them. And then everyone went home, and then we played games, and then just pretty much chilled for the rest of the day. But
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
yeah, right. Kentucky Fried Goat.
Kentucky Fried
That's
Chicken.
exactly. That was good though. I like goat. So.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much. Kentucky Fried Goat. That'll work. I don't like to think too much about Pastor Mickler being over there. It really affects me. Because I've been over there so many times, and I see his commitment. Every time we go, we see some things that he has been able to do, accomplish, and build more, provide more for Bethesda, which means to provide more for everyone around Bethesda. Bethesda, which is your ministry, Bethesda is a focal point of that part of the island for, I don't know how many miles to say radius from Bethesda, but the island is about 10 miles wide and 37 miles long. And we have so much impact there. People will come from a long way to come there to be part of the ministry, and also our school. We have children that we get reports of some of these children walking 3-4 miles, and little ones, I mean, and walking these goat paths or cow paths or whatever kind of path you want to call it over there, but it's just amazing. And then to understand the level of commitment. They were just there for a few days. This goes from day to day to day to day. There's no days taken off and going to the water park or going to watch a movie or going to do anything what we would call enjoyable. It's another day to help people in another way, or to be open to help people any way they can. And with our clinic now being open every day, we're able to help them in that way. Well, when they come to the clinic, they're walking onto a spiritual holy ground. When they come through the gates of Bethesda, they're walking into a place consecrated to the Lord, holy place, holy ground. And it's a place where good comes. When you walk through the gates of Bethesda, you're walking into a place where good is getting ready to meet you. The goodness of God is getting ready to meet you. And so, pray for them, and lift them up. Lift them up before the Lord. Turn your Bibles over to Judges. Oh, I'm sorry. Turn your Bible over to Acts chapter 9. That's another sermon. Acts chapter 9. I was getting ready to talk to you about Samson. mind. And what can happen when our minds are changed. We're going to look in the scriptures and see what happened with a changed mind in a man named Saul that we now know as Paul the Apostle. And we live in a world where emotions guide us. We were just talking with Patrick and Nikki there, and over in Haiti, we see some of the same emotions, but emotions that aren't as equipped with understanding like our emotions here in the United States. Here in the United States, we have everything available to us pretty much at our fingertips, from shopping. Now you can go grocery shopping with your computer, and we buy things constantly on the computer and have them delivered right to our door. We don't have to go looking for best prices at stores. We can just compare prices with the internet, or you can go to a website or a search engine and say best prices for this or best prices for that, and you start getting all this information. All that to say that our lives here are really led by emotion. Emotion is a good thing or a bad thing. Emotion is a word that we use to describe inner feelings or inner motives, what our lives produce. Our emotions produce actions, and our emotions go everywhere. Or we might say our emotions are all over the place. That's not so bad. It can be, but it also can be good. The key is, where are your emotions as far as healthy goes? Are your emotions healthy? Are your emotions a benefit to others? We live now in a world where it's more common for most people to declare that their views are the right way, or what's right in their own eyes. How they see life is how life should be. And we're super, super opinionated. We believe, or we try to convince everyone else that we believe that our opinions are right and true. We have a thought process in most of us that shows or proves out that our lives are under the rule of our opinions, or the way we think, what we value and how we value it. In our country, we sit on the center stage around the world as an example, and the rest of the world is watching us, and they're trying to set their own opinions, whether America is this, that, or the other, whether they should join with us or oppose us. Even in our own country, we've got about a 50-50 split in our political circles about the way things should go. And our emotions are behind so much of this. Our emotions also, this is a fact, they have to be satisfied. I don't know if you've ever thought about that. emotions, my emotions, others' emotions, they have to be satisfied. They're like, they gnaw you from the inside. They eat at you from the inside. And you begin to live out your life with this gnawing that becomes a driving force, right or wrong. But inside of us all, there is a mechanism that we call emotion that forces us. And forces us sometimes to do disastrous things. Sometimes forces us to do things that are good, decent. The other thing our emotions do for us is our emotions cause us to crave to be known, to be recognized. The emotion element in every one of us. Well, you might say, Pastor, today I just don't care. You might be at that point today where you think you don't care. The reason you think you don't care is because you've learned that this craving to be known has just not paid off for you. But the ones that crave to be known and it becomes payable to them, or people become attracted to them, they can't get enough of it. They want to be known more. That's why Hollywood is consumed with wanting to be known. Music singers, they're consumed with wanting to reach more people, because the adoration that comes, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for adoration. We're looking for our esteem to be built up, because people are clapping and people are waving and people are, yeah! And our emotions just get driven to a point that does something to us in our body, energizes us to a point where we begin to do things and we begin to fulfill and drive harder and harder because of emotion. We want to be known. The quiet people, they want to be known as well. Maybe they're just not as aggressive, or their ways of being known maybe are not loud and boisterous, but their ways of being known are maybe hugging and loving and caring for others. But in that process, others are looking back at them and saying thank you, or they're looking back at them with eyes of appreciation, or attitudes of appreciation, and it drives them. This is, by the way, something that obviously our Creator put in us. What would life be without emotion? It would be terrible. It would be terrible. In Tennessee, if somebody loses it on you and they cuss you out, we call it, they put a dog cussing on you. What is a dog cussing? A dog cussing is a bad cussing. Well, until you've received a couple of dog cussings, you might not understand that emotion. But that emotion is real. And the people that are on the other end of actually putting a cussing on you, it's not a made-up thing. It's a reality thing that's coming out of them or being expressed through them. Our importance, listen to this, our importance, the desire for us to be important, nags on us constantly. It might even cause us to become nags. You know what a nag is, don't you? Huh? We all know what nags are. Stop that nagging. We're all taught what nagging is. That relentless. And it's not just male or female. It's all of us. And we just create different ways to come across to get what we want. But we want to be known. We want to be important. We want our opinions to be recognized. We want our thoughts to be heard and hopefully demonstrated and hopefully used. I remember when I was younger, a young man, I was constantly thinking, just meditating constantly. And I really thought I had the answers to everything, pretty much. And you hear this little joke that talks about this young man that came to a place in his life where he was overwhelmed. He went off for a few years and came back home. And he was just overwhelmed on how smart his father had gotten while he was gone. Because his opinion was his father knew nothing. But as he got older, the balance came in. And he could see the value of his father's wisdom. When I was young, I had so much to say. But my problem was, I had no one to listen. I had no audience. No one was interested in what I had to say. It was frustrating because my mind was engaged. I wanted to be known. I wanted someone to say, "Hey, Jerry, that's pretty smart. Hey, Jerry, that's putting your thinking cap on there, House." I wanted that. But I just didn't get very much of it. Most of the time, my audience would just turn around and walk away. The younger ones weren't interested for obvious reasons, and the older ones, they already had all their thoughts. Their minds were groomed in their thought processes, and they weren't impressed with mine. And I've learned through life that this life we live has got all this emotion behind it, and we have to work with it. We have to accept that this is part of who we are as a people, as a creation. God created us like this. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life angry because I couldn't get anyone to listen to me in my younger years. I'm not going to get all angry and frustrated for people not listening to me now. I'm going to live this life, and I'm going to try to help and do what I believe the Lord has called me to do. And that's all I can do. And I need to get happy in it. Amen? You need to get happy with your life. We create ways to exalt ourselves at the expense of others. Or we create ways of wanting to make sure everyone sees us at the expense of stepping on anyone else, or belittling them, or speaking a negative word about someone else because your desire is for you to be the one. The problem with you being the one, it's a lonely world. There was a song that we used to sing, or that was sung when I was a teenager. The loneliest number is the number one. The loneliest number is being number one. But yet, our emotions, if they get out of control or out of balance, we began to look for ways, or we began to accept that it's okay to step on someone else to try to get yourself a little higher. We have an argument that is consistent. Other people are holding me back. Other people are holding me back. No one's holding you back. The only person that's holding anybody back is themselves. If you allow someone else's emotions to hold you back, that's your problem. And it's a problem that you need to see. It's a problem that is factual, and it's a problem that needs to be dealt with. No one is holding you back. No one is keeping you from really doing anything. I mean, we have laws and stuff for illegal activity, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about decent things. Things that are approved among our humanity. No one is holding you back. No one has got your job. No one has got your future. No one. I used to believe all that. I'm telling you, I had myself so deep in the ditch believing all that nonsense. I thought that certain people had certain advantages. I've told you about being raised poor. Salvation Army clothes and blah, 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 and government peanut butter, that is like this rock of whatever is down in there with that oil on top that takes muscles like Samson to get it stirred up, Potted meat sandwiches, Spam that is really good, fried bologna sandwiches that you just don't see anymore. Hey, everybody in our family knew how to spell bologna. B-O-L-O-G-N-A. Bologna man. There you go. Yeah. And if you're smart, you fry bologna, you'll take your knife and reach up in the middle of it and cut it straight back and let it lay flat in the pan. That's if you're a bologna eater. But because I was raised that way, my emotions went off balance, and I saw things from that perspective. I saw things from an unbalanced perspective. I saw things from an angle that wasn't true. I was convinced that this, that, and the other, that certain families and certain this and certain that. But I'm 63 now. I can tell you, I can look back and see that the future is wide open to anyone that will accept that it's open to them. And it's closed to anyone that accepts it's closed to them. Because our emotions, once our emotions become convinced or sold on a certain fact or certain ways, our life produces what our emotions declare. This is true. Those of you that are my age or older, or around my age, you relate very well. Those of you that are younger, you need to take this message as a word from God. And then the other thing would help you is to maybe go talk to some of the older ones and ask them, what are my limitations? What are my limitations? We can help you. We can help you. The school that I came from in the Langford Plan was a group of people that enjoyed being ignorant. My family. We bragged on it. We spoke against educated people. We spoke against educated preachers. We bragged on being stupid, unlearned. We bragged on having common sense. We had common sense, so we had so much common sense, most of us had no sense. You know what I'm saying? We were loaded down with common sense, but we had no nickels to rub together or sense. But we were proud in common sense. And we would let you know how smart we are with our common sense. And I was raised in that. And God delivered me from it. And He's continuing to deliver me from it. And I talk to some of you, and I try to encourage you. And I'm not trying to overinflate when I try to encourage you. I'm trying to tell you straight on. If you could see it, it could become a reality. Get your emotions in order. Paul over here in Acts chapter 9, he's on the road to Damascus, and he's wanting to find some more Christians. The Bible calls them people of the way, that he might arrest them and bring them bound or in chains to Jerusalem to be punished or possibly killed. And as he got close to Damascus, the Bible says in verse 3 that suddenly a light shone around him from heaven. Then he fell to the ground, and he heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? He said, Who are you, Lord? Then the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. And then Jesus said this. He said, It is hard for you to kick against the goads. One day I preached a message about the goads. And I brought in this goad stick. I had one of the guys make me up a goad stick. But a goad was a large stick that these shepherds would goad these. They would hit these sheep or hit their cattle and cause them to move. And hit them around the back of the legs and get them moving and headed in a certain direction. Jesus uses this term. He says, it's hard for you to kick against the goads. He says, and what he was saying is, there's this authority. I am the authority. And you're kicking against me. The person with the goad stick is the person with authority. The animals learn this. That when they see the goad stick, they behaved a certain way. The goad stick meant something. Jesus is saying, I'm the person with the goad stick. I'm in charge. Quit kicking against it. Quit kicking against me. So he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what do you want me to do? Then the Lord said to him, Arise and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do. We learned that he was struck blind, and he gets back up, and he can't see. His eyes are open, but he's blind. And they bring him into Damascus, and he was there for 3 days and he didn't eat or drink for 3 days, dealing with this confrontation that he had. And we read on through there that the Holy Spirit spoke to Ananias. And Ananias had this vision. And Ananias goes and or meets with Paul or Saul. And the Lord said to Ananias, "Arise," verse 11, "go to the street called Straight, and inquire at the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he is praying, and in a vision he has seen a man named Ananias coming and putting his hand on him so that he might receive his sight." And we read on down through there that that's exactly what happened. And in verse 15, it says, "But the Lord said to him, Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine, to bear my name before Gentiles, kings, and the children of Israel." Saul, he had a personal experience. He was a man driven by emotions. He was driven by emotions like some of you are driven by emotions of others. Saul was driven by the emotions of the teachings of Judaism. And he was brought up and trained to think a certain way. He is brought up to train for his emotions to be under the authority of something that he was taught. And this speaks to us as well. I talk to so many people, especially younger ones. They're controlled by what their parents say or said, or things of their childhood. Someone else's emotions are still controlling them today. Someone else's emotions have become the leading partner of their own emotions. It's big business. You want to know why you're doing what you're doing? You want to figure out why that your life has less meaning than it should, or that you think it should? Take this message today and begin to examine this God-given gift that was given to you. Take this message and allow it to penetrate you, and examine the gift of emotions that God gave to you, and begin to ask some basic questions. Where do my emotions come from? Who's in control of my emotions? Are my emotions healthy? Are my emotions abusive or kind and gentle? Are my emotions about loving my neighbor as myself, or are my emotions about loving me? Pretty easy, isn't it? If you want to get happy, if you want to go somewhere in your life where you know where you're going, you know you can have a powerful education and be on a road to nowhere. Our world is full of people with all kinds of degrees that they're on a road to nowhere. They don't know where they're going. And many of them eventually open up a door on it. And on the door it says suicide. And I bury some of them. And when I do a funeral of someone that has taken their own life, I talk about that door. And I tell them, when you see that door, do not touch it. Don't touch that door. But poor people, rich people, and all people in between, on the road to nowhere. And then they come to this place where they're so frustrated, and Satan presents a door for them of escape. And they take it. took his life at 63 years old. Probably the most famous comedian of all time. They said a genius. Everybody called him a genius. But his emotions were so unhealthy. His emotions could not be satisfied. The applause of others, he couldn't get enough of it. And if one of his movies didn't do well, he tanked and bombed inside. He had to have the applause of people. His emotions declared or demanded that they be satisfied in the applause of others or the adoration of others. And here we see this guy and we think, man, I wish I had a sense of humor, even half of that. This guy is brilliant, or he's an idiot, whatever, however you perceive him. But Robin Williams was a person that had so much going on in him, creative, to the point where he couldn't be contained. But his emotions demanded certain things, and he didn't get them. And it didn't matter how creative he was. It didn't matter all the success that he had in the past. All that mattered was he was on a road to nowhere, and he came to this door. And he opened the door and took his own life. Emotion. The good, the bad, the ugly. Well, here we see Paul. He was driven by his emotions on his way to get more Christians, possibly kill more Christians like Stephen was stoned. And the report of Paul holding some coats. In verse 5, we see this persuasion experience that he had, that we must all have. And in verse 5, we see that he was convicted. The Lord spoke to him, and he said, "Who are you, Lord?" And the Lord said, "I am Jesus, whom you're persecuting." Struck down, blind, and he's screaming out, probably to as loud as he could speak or yell, "Who are you?" You got to understand the power in this young man. You got to understand how brilliant he was in his mind and how brilliant he thought he was. You got to understand how right he thought he was. You got to understand how driven he was to be known. He was driven to be known. He wanted to be known. He was willing to go and persecute Christians at whatever expense. He had to be known. Everybody had to know that this young man, Saul, was on the march to eradicate the people of the way. His history book said, "It will show that my life drove out this evil from among us," the teachings of Christ. Then here he is on the ground, blind. Something happened. Convicted. And then in verse 6, we see that he's convinced. Verse 6 says, "So he, trembling and astonished, said, 'Lord, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me me to do? He was ready. He was convinced. He was not hollering at the Lord and saying, your teachings are wrong. The teachings of the temple are the truth. You don't read any of that in this passage. He didn't go back and relate to what he was taught. Some power had a hold of him, struck him to the ground, blinded him, and he in all of his brilliance said, what do you want me to do? Who are you? What do you want me to do? Persuasion. A change of his mind. His mind was changed. What do you want me to do? And then in verse 15 we see where he was complete. Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before Gentiles, kings, and the children of Israel. He became complete because now he had a future. He wasn't on the road of the blind. He was blind before he was struck blind. Really, he was. And when our emotions are unhealthy, we're as blind as a bat. We're blind. We don't see things. We think we do. We think we're right. We think all these thoughts. We're frustrated to no end. But we're blind. We're blind. We love to argue. Corey tells sometimes about wanting to come in my office or come around his mother and I and begin some spiritual argument. And we go back to the Word of God. And I don't know how many times I tell Corey this, and I just keep reminding him. Corey, if somebody's got some new revelation that supposedly surpasses all the things that men have been taught and learned from God through history, chances are they're not right and everybody else is wrong. My dad taught me that. My dad taught me that when I would go to him and try to convince him about certain things in the church and certain things and certain and I was wanting to pick a fight with my dad. And my dad looked at me one day and said, Jerry, if you hear someone or you yourself get an idea or a revelation that you all of a sudden you think what you know is trumps or is the truth, and it's not common. He said, men have studied that holy book for centuries. And the chances of everybody being wrong and you being right are slim.
Amen.
I kept that opinion as a piece of gold nugget for my life. And I've honored his opinion. And it has kept me out of trouble. And it's also caused me to see out there in the world of knuckleheads that are always trying to put the wow on me. Television preachers especially, that want to put the wow on me. They want me to say wow. They want me to adore them. They want me to look at them and say, my God, how brilliant this man is. We have preachers come in, not very often here. I've been burnt too many times. If you want to know why I don't have a bunch of evangelists in, the last 2 times I got burnt really bad. They want you to wow them. They want to wow you, and they want you to adore them. They want you to walk out the door talking about them instead of talking about Jesus. Amen? Amen. It's in men's heart. Their emotions are unhealthy. Their emotions are not centered on the truth. It's in their heart. Paul's mind, his changed mind, produced different emotions. We're going to go to that next Sunday, or Sunday after. Next Sunday, I imagine we're going to be hearing about Haiti from the bigger group, or from who's, the bigger group is actually back. But all together, I guess. But I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to what has happened to this man when his emotions became centered, and how his mind, the changed mind, produced new and different emotions, and how his persuasion produced passion. But today, what the Lord is wanting us to get a hold of is there's balance in emotion. The balance is not in what we think the balance is. The balance is in what God declares balance is. Are you willing to change your mind? That's a question from the Lord to you. Are you on a road blindly? Are you into your future blindly, or do you know where you're going? Is your life producing the life of Christ wherever you're at and whatever you're doing? Is Christ being seen in and through you? If your emotions are healthy, Christ will be seen in you and through you. If your emotions are healthy, you'll want to see others come into the love of Christ without you being acknowledged, without you being the hero. God doesn't need any heroes. He needs servants. Amen? He doesn't need heroes. Jesus is our hero. He's our all in all. He is everything. We're servants. We're here to serve Him. Jesus is the one holding the goat stick. And He's prodding us and encouraging us. And He says, don't kick against it. Don't kick against the goat stick. Don't kick against His authority. Accept who He wants you to be. Accept that He wants you to be healed in your emotions. That your parents or your family or teachers or anyone that you've come through or passed by in this life, their emotions aren't your emotions. Every person has their own emotions. It's no one else's fault if you're not happy. It's your fault. Did you hear me? If you're not happy, it is no one else's fault but yours. Your emotions were given to you as a gift from God Himself. He created you with them. This life, under the work of Satan, has tried to come in and steal the health from our emotions and make us sickly and demanding. Sickly and desiring. Sickly and wanting things our way. And we can be healed in Jesus' name. Healed. You can actually live a life full of laughter that is real laughter, not not produce fake laughter. We see a lot of fake laughter. There's a ton of it out there. Fake laughter. But there's some real laughter out there that just is it's just a God that feels good. There's a joy unspeakable, full of God's glory that belongs to us. Amen? Let's stand. This is a good word for you today. A very good word for you. And we'll pick up the rest of it. And we'll see what happened to Paul through change. A man with a changed heart. Amen? Would you bow your head for just a second? Would you ask yourself a few questions? Would you ask yourself, what did you honestly think of this message today? Would you ask this question, Lord, is this message from you? Is this message from you, Lord? Is this message to me? Did you direct this message, Lord God, to me today? Do you want me to change, Lord? Do you want to change me? Do you want to change me from the inside out? Is this your desire for me, Lord God, that I would become a complete person in my emotions and begin to destroy all the fakiness and the weird fakiness that I've lived in for so long and become a real person? Real because you created me to be a certain way. I'm going to pray, and I just want you to pray as I'm praying. The Lord is asking you today to make a commitment to change. If He is persuading you today to change, I want you to pray in your own words as I pray. Lord God, I thank you. Father, I thank you that it is your desire for us to be healed and to become one with you. Father, I thank you that you led us this way today. And this can become a breakthrough day for all of us. And that we can take this word that you've given to us and our lives can become free. Free indeed, finally. And that we can become healed. And we surrender our emotions to you right now, Lord God. And we ask you to heal us by your Holy Spirit through your word and through the love of brothers and sisters. But we take responsibility right now over our own emotions and the condition of them. And we declare today, we declare, Lord God, that our emotions are no longer the responsibility of others. How we were treated or raised or educated or any other thing. How we were bossed around or forced around or manipulated to think a certain way. Lord God, we just right now, we submit and surrender everything in our past to you. And we stand, Lord, before you and say, I am responsible for my emotions. And I desire to become healthy today. In Jesus' name. Amen. How about it? Did it help you? Did it help you? It helped you. Anyone that wants to be free can be free indeed. Or free completely. In Jesus' name, amen. Raise your hand for the blessing, will you please? May the Lord bless you and keep you. And may the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord's countenance come upon you and give you his peace. Shalom. May the Lord take today and use it in my life forever. And in your life. In Jesus' name. Amen. As we sing and you greet each other and hug on each other and pray with each other on the way out, I want to tell you that Wednesday night is the first Wednesday of the month. Is that correct? Okay, so I'm going to be doing a prophecy update. I haven't done a prophecy update in a couple months. I'm going to do a prophecy update, an end-time prophecy update, this Wednesday at 6:30. So come and bring your friends and come to receive a good update where we're at